a talk on pointing out who you really are this evening using some of the great teachings of Zen and A Course in Miracles. So we'll get into it by just bringing the mind fully into the present moment and focusing on the breath. And so as you begin to breathe deeper and slower, just feel the brightness of your attention, the witnessing state of consciousness. And see if you can, for a moment, be just the witness without witnessing something. Just feel into the nature of being aware as the knower, as the watcher. And also notice that this awareness, this watcher, is the ground of every moment. It's the beginning or basis of every experience that you have ever had and will ever have. It is the one fundamental truth of everything that is arising within your life. Whatever the changes may look like, good or bad or neutral, you are always aware. That is the steady state. That is the one unchanging truth. And as you pay attention to awareness, not to something, but see if you, again, just feel into the radiant nature of this wakeful watchfulness. It's not a thing to be seen, it is the seer. It is not a thing to be heard, it is the hearer. And again, see if you can feel this radiant, constant, changeless, mysterious awareness or presence. This is holy ground. This is your sacred nature, and it is shared and one with all living things. It is the basis of every moment, not just for a separate you, but for all life. It is the basis of life. And so as you feel into this radiant awareness, not of something, not even of a self-concept or an ego image of the little you, but just the naked awareness, know that everyone and everything that is sentient is experiencing the same awareness. There is no difference. here. And so all of the great traditions simply point to this, to refine and deepen our understanding and connection to this changeless, always already state of being. Its very nature is joy. Its very nature is peace, luminosity, and eternality. And so tonight, we simply brighten our understanding and point deeper and more directly into this changeless nature that we all share as this one ever-present self, the self in all beings. Namaste. So when we do say namaste, as you know, it's the light in me honors the light in you. And it's that even that gets a little clumsy with language because it's really just awareness recognizing awareness. There's no me or you in that awareness. And so as we can begin to let go of our limiting beliefs and rest more and more into the presence of this watcher, this witness, we come to realize our unity with all living things. The awareness in the insect, the awareness in our enemy, the awareness in all beings is our awareness. The particulars are where we get lost and confused, and judgments from the little self arise and create clouds that block us from this primordial ground. But as Jesus said in the gospel, if you do it to the least of these, my brethren, you've done it to me. Because he knows this one self. It is the one self that is truly alive and eternal. You don't get to become eternal. You're always eternal. Eternal is a natural state of this awareness. When we don't know it, we're in what they call dream, right? We're dreaming we're something else. And yet, even the something else, like I'll dream that I'm John and you'll dream that you're your name and form, and yet it's still using this awareness. It's just narrowing it down and putting it into a package of memory and imagination and habit and body identification. But even within this state of embodiment, it is still the awareness that we can immediately access. And that's really the purpose of meditation, slowing down and turning our attention away from things and images and memories and thought patterns, and simply bringing it back to this radiant, still, calm awareness. And we're going to see with the teachings of Zen Master Yun Men, he does this in a very irreverent and I consider it to be a comical way. One of the great things about Zen is it came about because Buddhism began to become overly complicated. So after the Buddha passed, they had these councils and they formed the early patterns and stages of Buddhism, and they developed what was called the Abhidhamma. And the Abhidhamma is very useful, but it's also overly analytical and it's very psychological. So they'll analyze the 54 states of your consciousness. And you'll memorize those and you'll learn these different ways of analyzing yourself and different absorption states and jhanas. And it gets really complicated and overly intellectualized. And Zen was one of the reactions within Buddhism to basically cut through all of that complexity and bring us back to the fundamental ground that you are the Buddha. You just don't recognize it. And all you really need to do is recognize it and away with all the complexity. And so this is why in Zen, The emphasis is on you discovering who you really are. See, you're not your problems. You're not your past. You're not your story. You're not the me that you walked in here thinking you are. You're actually pure, eternal, peaceful, calm, infinite awareness, Buddha nature. You're the awakened one. The one listening right now is the Buddha. That's the beauty of these teachings. So when we begin to realize that the teaching itself, as they say in Zen, is really just like soap, right? We come in here, we have all of these beliefs and false ideas and mistaken understandings, so we're kind of covered with stuff. Emotional trauma, codependent relationship dynamics, all these things kind of encrust us with a film that blocks us from knowing our true nature. And what they say Zen is like soap. You put on the soap and it's grease, but you're putting on the soap on the dirty skin or mind, if you will, and then you're rinsing off both the grime and the soap. So Zen isn't something that you now belong to or a teaching that you're going to follow. It's simply the soap to get rid of the stuff that was blocking you from knowing what you always already are. You're it. You just have to realize that. And so the soap allows you to have that squeaky clean, bright mind to go, oh my God, I've been looking everywhere other than right here with this awareness. I've been turned away from it instead of towards it. I've been looking to people and institutions and teachings and all these other distractions for my safety, my security, my peace, my entertainment, everything. So this is Zen. It's a removing of all of the distractions, including the teaching itself, because the teaching itself can be a distraction. It's another thing that the false self can identify with and say, well, now I'm a Buddhist. That's what I am. And it just becomes another layer of false identification. So Yun Men has a very comical way of getting us to this clarity of seeing what we need to see. So this is what he says. You must neither fall for the tricks of others nor simply accept their directives. The instant you see an old monk open his mouth, you tend to stuff those big rocks right into yours. And when you cluster in little groups to discuss his words, you're exactly like those green flies on shit. They struggle back to gobble it up. What a shame, brothers. Right? We are depending on other people's words and ideas. And he's saying, this is not what the teaching is. Don't gobble up somebody's words and just repeat and repeat and repeat. So this is what the commentary says. Whatever prop one makes use of, pilgrimages, holy scriptures, lofty teachings, a meditation method, a master, even the teaching of Yun Men does not spare anything. The moment he discovers that one is relying on something or someone, he strikes with his staff or his sharp tongue. In other words, you have to turn your attention onto your attention. That's the teaching. Your very awareness is Buddha. That's the ground of every moment, and we're missing it because we are ignoring our awareness and then focusing on things, my thoughts, my memories, my emotions, my body, the things going on in the world, all the phenomena, and not the clear awareness. So the teaching is always going, it's never going to be found in words. It's never going to be found in ideas, in methods, in philosophy, or religion. you will never find it there. And the one you think you are, as the little self who's seeking it, is also phenomena. But the awareness, the one listening right now, is not the little self. That's the primordial ground. You've never left the Father's house. This primordial awareness is the truth of who you are. It's the truth of everything. When you know this, you know it all. When you don't know this, you know nothing. Right? This is the teaching. So the story is a classical story of another meditation master, Matsu, and Matsu's sitting cross-legged all day meditating, right? And his master comes along, Nangaku, and he asks the student, "What are you seeking sitting there cross-legged?" And the student says, "I want to become a Buddha." And the master then begins to take a brick and starts to polish the brick. And the student's looking at the master polishing the brick and says, "Well, what are you doing?" He goes, "I'm going to make a mirror." And he says, "You can never make a mirror polishing a brick." And he said, "You can never become a Buddha by sitting in meditation." And the reason is why? Because the brick is the little self that's sitting in meditation. That self can never wake up. That self is the very idea of separation, of unenlightenment. That self is not who you are. So you can never become happy as the little self. You can never be at peace as the little self. You will never have truly harmonious relationships as the little self. The little self is the belief in disunity, if you will. It's the one that is never satisfied, always craving, always seeking, never stable, never at peace. That's the brick. That's the little self. And if you sit in meditation for 40 years as that little self, it's not going to really change much. You might have moments of peace, moments of relaxation, but guess what? It's going to pass. And there you are again as the little self. Discover the one watching the little self. Who is that? So someone asked the master, "What is the most urgent for me?" The master said, "The very you who is afraid that he doesn't know." Sit with that, watch that. Watch the one who's seeking. Watch the one who's curious. Watch the one who thinks that this is going to get me something. Watch that. Really look at what you call you. This is the teaching. Because as you really look at what you call you, it is a bundle of thoughts, memories, habits, strung together and woven, like a thing that you put together with tape. And it seems like you, but when you start to look at it, it has nothing to do with the one that you truly are. And that's why you never really feel at home in yourself as you know yourself. That's why we get distracted all the time, because we don't really want to hang out with who we are. Who we are is not satisfying. Who we are is never really happy and stable. And so he says, pay attention to that. Because as you begin to lose this hypnotic spell of always going back to the identity of this is me, this is what I do, this is what I think, this is how I live, this is my story, this is how these people are. All of this is part of that taped together bundle. that really isn't you. This is just what you've identified as. When you meditate and you slow down and you begin to sit in the brightness of your own awareness, it naturally begins to dissolve those sticky places where you naturally just go unconscious as that false self. You begin to go, wait a minute, like, there I go again. That's not me. You'll have those moments and they'll increase. Why did I just react that way? I know that's not me anymore. I don't need to be like this anymore. Why am I getting upset about this? This is really nonsense. You'll have these moments where you'll break those habit patterns, which is a way of actually dissolving the old self and remembering that you can't be put into words. You can't be put into thoughts. You're not in time. You're the boundless Buddha nature. That's who you are. But that needs to be discovered by knowing everything you're not. And so he's asked again, what is the fundamental meaning of Buddhist teaching? The master said, you're facing the south to see the Great Bear, which is Ursa Major, right? Which is in the north. So you're looking in the wrong direction. Your attention is on things. Your attention is on the little you, which is another thing. It's a thing made out of thought. You're looking at things. The essential teaching of the Buddha is look at your own awareness. Know yourself as this awareness. Once you know this, you won't fall for the pitfalls and the traps of being something you're not. You'll wake up. Now, if you have children in the room listening on YouTube or Facebook, cover their ears or have them leave for a moment. This is the last thing I'll share with Yun Men. So again, like I said, Yun Men is very irreverent. And part of it is to shock us, to get us out of these habitual ways of falling asleep inside of the teaching, okay? And being entertained by spiritual teaching. This is to kind of shock you awake. So he enters the Dharma hall and he starts to give his formal instruction. Okay, I warned you. Here he begins. Today, I'm getting caught up in words with you. Shit, ash, piss, fire. These dirty pigs and scabby dogs can't even distinguish good from bad and are making their living in a shit pit. This is the sacred teaching from the Master. Everyone's gathered in the temple to hear this. Let me tell you, you must grasp the whole universe, the earth, and all of the teachings of the Buddha, all the three realms and all the masters in the whole universe at once, right on your eyelashes. Even if you were able to understand this here and now, you'd still be a fellow out of luck who is jumping into a shit pit for no reason at all. If anyone like that should ever come by my assembly of patch-robed monks, I beat him up till his legs break. So what is he getting at? Is he just there as a foul-mouthed person? What is he getting at? Get over yourself. You are the Buddha. You're pretending you're not, and you're really good at pretending. And if you don't want this, he said, other teachings say, as if you had your hair on fire and you want water to dye out the hair that's on fire, you'll never wake up because you're too busy pacifying your dream. So these are Zen stories here. So this one is called Open Your Own Treasure House. Daiju visited the master Baso in China. Baso asked, "What do you seek?" "Enlightenment," said Daiju. "You have your own treasure house. Why do you search outside?" Baso asked. Daiju inquired, "Where is my treasure house?" Baso answered, "What are you asking is your treasure house?" What you are asking is your treasure house. Daiju was enlightened. Ever after, he urged his friends, open your own treasure house and use those treasures. Your consciousness is everything. It is the storehouse of all blessing. You're sitting on the treasure house. You are the treasure house. We are just identifying with this little self, with a story, and denying our abundant nature, our eternal nature. And again, we're so good at it. We get distracted so easily away from it. And the other thing you want to consider too is the little self is going to be afraid of this. It doesn't want this. The little self wants to be little. Because what you're going to do is realize you're the one self, and the little self that you thought you are never really existed. But that means none of your problems really exist. None of your pain really exists. None of your loss really exists. You've been in this place of total blessing your whole life as you've known it and have been unaware of it. That's why one of the great poems of Zen is, we are like someone in the midst of water, crying out in thirst, so imploringly. We are like the child of a rich man who has wandered away among the poor. We think we're these helpless and hopeless and little people. And we're the royal children. We're the one self. But again, these are words, these are concepts, and the teaching is designed to simply keep pointing you back to the one who's paying attention. That deep awareness is your treasure house. Okay? This is a story called The True Path. Just before Ninakawa passed away, the Zen master Ikkyu visited him. And he goes to the he's on his deathbed. And so he says to the dying person, "Shall I lead you on?" And the one who was dying, Ninakawa, replied, "I came here alone, and I'll go alone. What help could you be to me?" Ikkyu answered, "If you think you really come and go, this is your delusion. Let me show you the path on which there is no coming and no going." With his words, Ikkyu had revealed the path so clearly that Ninakawa passed away with a smile. In other words, there's nowhere to go and nowhere to get to. Right here, right now, is the mystery revealing itself perfectly. When we get still, when we get quiet, when we relax, when we turn away from all of our distractions and want to know, it shines. It shines away all the barriers that we have put up as the little self, and we're willing now to allow those barriers to go, to melt, to collapse, because we realize all those barriers, even the pleasurable ones, were made out of fear. littleness. And as we begin to allow these barriers to melt away, this all-encompassing love begins to come back in. We begin to fall in love with the present moment unconditionally. There's no coming or going with this love. There's no coming and going with this peace. It's constant. It doesn't change. It will never leave or forsake us. It's the very I of our being. So last one here. This one is called No Water, No Moon. When the nun Chiyono studied Zen under Buko of Engaku, she was unable to attain the fruits of meditation for a long time. At last, one moonlit night, she was carrying water in an old pail bound with bamboo. The bamboo broke and the bottom fell out of the pail, and at that moment, Chiyono was set free. In commemoration, she wrote a poem. In this way and that, I tried to save the old pail, since the bamboo strip was weakening and about to break, until at last the bottom fell out. No more water in the pail. No more moon in the water. So the pail is her little self. The water is the consciousness that seems to be bound in the little self. The moon is your enlightened nature. And all of her life, she's still trying to get enlightened and save the pail, the little self, right? Isn't that, if you really look and are clear and honest with yourself, the seeking after enlightenment, or whatever you're calling it, is really to make yourself happy, right? To have peace, contentment, security, despite the crazy and chaotic environment that you might be seeing or living in. Finding something that is stronger than fear and anxiety that you can hang on to and know that God's got my back. That kind of a feeling is why we are driven to these teachings. But she's saying, all the while I was doing this, I was trying to protect the little pail. And I thought that the reflection of the moon, my thoughts about God, my thoughts about Buddha nature, was what was something that I was having to strive for until the pail broke. The little self broke. Now, there's no more water, no more pail, and no more moon reflected in the little consciousness. I am the moon. This is it. This is it. It keeps showing itself. But I've been more concerned with protecting my little ego and seeking to save the face of my ego than seeking the face of God and letting go of my little self. What am I holding on to? Why am I so afraid to let go? What do I think I'm going to lose? This all must be sussed out intimately with yourself in meditation. Get present to what's holding you back. Get present to the reluctance, the misgivings, the doubt. One of the key words that you'll hear from the meditation masters is relax. Relax. Because when you begin to feel into the little self, this old bucket, it's tight. That's what makes it feel like it's a little self. It's gripped onto life. That's what it feels like. That's fear. Fear is a constricting emotion. Love is an ah. That's what love is. Love is opening to vastness, boundlessness, unity, softness, sweetness, security, no threat anywhere. So I can love. I can let go. There's no other to be afraid of. No other exists. It's just this. And everyone is this. Those that don't know it are still this. This is rock solid. So I can love. I can let go. I can relax. It doesn't matter what politics or the stock market or anything else is doing. In this moment, I can relax. Let go. I'm not things. I'm not a thing. And whatever can happen in the world can never change this. This is eternal. It's unshakable. It is peace itself. It is love itself. It can't be lost. It can be ignored, but it can't be lost. Just switching gears here to the non-duality teachings of India, the Vedanta. This is the song of the Avadut, the great sage. And so this awareness is called the self, right? So you'll hear it put in those terms. To some, the self appears as other. To me, the self is I, like undivided space. One alone exists. How then could the subject and object of meditation be two? So when we are in meditation, we're not trying to get anything. We're not trying to get peace. We're not trying to get happiness. We're not trying to get enlightenment. We're not trying to get calm. We're actually, because that would be polishing the brick, yeah? You can't make that a mirror. That self that's trying to get is the only block. We relax. And we turn our attention onto the one awareness that we keep bringing up tonight. This is the one with no other. And so when you're meditating, this is what you are, and all beings are. This is the God nature. This is the self, and it's not a thing. So that's why you're going to have to refine and clarify your attention. Because our attention has gotten cloudy. This is what we were talking about earlier about the soap, right? It's got like a film on it. And so we're seeing cloudy stuff because we've been addicted to the self, the ego, and sensual, sense objects. When we meditate, we have to actually refine our attention because our attention is habitually driven to be a monkey mind, go outside of ourselves, attached to things, attached to images, attached to memories, attached to thoughts. So we keep bringing it back in the beginning, but the attention becomes clearer and finer and more one-pointed, and then we can actually turn that attention totally on the imageless, the no self or the no mind, the one that's just radiantly aware. And it will feel like you got to do this for a little while, like the story about the nun. She was working very hard as that bucket. So you're going to still think you're the little self, But the more you keep refining your attention and you're like, I'm not going to get distracted with that thought. I'm not going to follow that story. I'm not going to keep making the past real. I'm just going to pay attention to attention. I'm going to be aware of being aware. This is the ground of this moment. It's the ground of this moment. It doesn't matter what's arising. This is the one steady state. What is this? Who am I? What is the nature of this awareness? You keep working seemingly like that, eventually the bottom of the bucket's going to fall out. And that awareness is going to be like a tsunami. And you'll realize, I'm swimming in awareness. Everything is awareness. It's all Buddha. It's all the self. One alone exists. Right? This is when we get into concepts, this is monotheism, right? The real import of monotheism is God is. Only God exists. There are no other powers. That means God is omnipresent, all presence, all knowing, all powerful. Well, I haven't taken that in yet. If God is omnipresence, it's omnipresence here. If God is all-knowing, my consciousness is all-knowing. If God is all-powerful, my consciousness is all-powerful. Monotheism means there's no two-ness, that God is this very body, God is this very mind, God is all in all. And if you read your New Testament carefully, that's the culmination of the end of the age, when the Son takes control and reintegrates everything back into himself and then gives the kingdom over to the Father. This is 1 Corinthians 15. And then God becomes all in all. This is what we're talking about. We just aren't going to get caught up in concepts and theology, so that little self can still be like, well, now I'm a Christian. This is what I believe. This is the truth. No, that little self, as St. Paul says, has to die. That's the problem. There's no other problem. That little self gets crucified so that the Christ rises in its place. That's the resurrection of your mind as the one Son of God. So we use different traditions with different terms, but the story remains the same. Do you realize how valuable you are? Do you realize how beautiful you are? How loved? That's one of the things that comes up when you begin to really touch into this and you touch the live current. Concepts are like, I'm still me listening. But when you touch the living current of this and you get it, like in your bones, you often weep. It just breaks you. Like, this can't be true. I didn't realize that it was just so amazing that I'm this love. How can I be this love? That's what we wrestle with. That's why we're so tight. Because the story we have about ourselves and about our world, that's what he says in the Course. Love is impossible from that point of view. You can never be that. And that's one of the reasons why we gravitate to religion. Because we don't think we can be it, so we'll pretend it. And then the self-hatred we have for our little self, it gets projected on the out group. You're not a Christian. Off with his head. You're not a Jew. You don't deserve to live. You're not a Hindu. You're a Muslim. Kill him. It's just a little self that is so full of its own fear. That's why religion will never do it. You have to die. And realize once you die, that was never you. You're the love. You're not the fear. So here's the teaching of the Course. And he's saying that we've all tasted this. We might not remember it, but one of the reasons why we might tear up or feel pulled in is because we know this. We really do. It's like who we are. That's why he says, everyone has experienced what he would call a sense of being transported beyond himself, the little self. This feeling of liberation far exceeds the dream of freedom sometimes experienced in the special relationship, right? I found the perfect one. Like she or he is perfect. Oh my God, I'm so happy. I get to feel this love, right? You're allowing yourself, for a moment maybe, to feel this love again. But you think it's because of that object, that person, that you're allowing yourself to feel it's your love. It's the constant state. But we don't think that, and so we hang on to people because that will give us the feeling. And then they don't do what they should do. And now we can't love them anymore. We have to hate them a little bit. And that love comes and goes. And sometimes the love that was so strong and seemingly perfect becomes the worst thing that ever happened in my life. So he's saying this is not that. It far exceeds the liberation sometimes felt in the special relationship. It is a sense of actual escape from limitations. If you will consider what this transportation really entails, you will realize that it is a sudden unawareness of the body and a joining of yourself and something else in which your mind enlarges to encompass it. It becomes part of you as you unite with it, and both become whole as neither is perceived as separate. So you're literally going into the infinite, divine, boundless love. And when you enter in, you realize this is me. This has been in me. This is at the very center of my being. This infinite love is the spark of my awareness. And as I go into that enlargement, that love literally joins the infinite love. And I'm being hugged with infinite arms. And I'm being flooded with boundless love. I can't believe this. And then belief goes away. I am this. I am this. Everyone is this. That's what he's saying. You join it. And there's no two-ness. And it's the only thing that really exists. Everything else was a fever dream of being separated from it. Like somehow that didn't exist. That's impossible. That's what this world is. The belief that that is impossible. What really happens when you unite with this and all separation melts away is that you have given up the illusion of a limited awareness and lost your fear of union. Right? Remember we said the little self is so tight. It's so walled off and guarded and careful and hyper alert to threat. That's how we had to grow up, right? We're not going to let that happen to me again. I'm going to be careful next time. That was really stupid. How can I do that? That was so stupid. Why did I let my guard down? Why did I trust that person? I thought this person loved me. So tight. So guarded. And we're like that with God. And so now we get to melt. We get to relax. And he says, once you get the feeling like there's no threat with infinite love, It actually wants to wipe all your tears away. That's its only purpose. So you can begin to relax and let down your guard. The fear of union is gone. The love that instantly replaces the fear of union extends to what has freed you and unites you with it. And while this lasts, you are not uncertain of your identity and would not limit it. You have escaped from fear to peace, asking no questions of reality. Right? Your mind is silent, certain, merely accepting it. You have accepted this boundless reality instead of your image of the body. And you have let yourself be one with something beyond your body, simply by not letting your mind be limited by it. And then finally he says, the sudden expansion of the self that takes place with your desire for it is the irresistible appeal that this instant of enlightenment holds out to you every instant. It's every instant. And when you taste this, really, you'll never be able to go back to truly believing that the separate self exists. It still might come in and mess you up and confuse you, and there I go again, and I want that again. What happened? I can't get. But you'll never go to sleep totally as the separate self again. It just, you know. So every instant is this. He says, it calls to you to be yourself within its safe embrace. Every instant. You can never get away from it. There are the laws of limit lifted for you to welcome you to openness of mind and freedom. Come to this place of refuge where you can be yourself in peace, not through destruction, not through a breaking out, but merely by a quiet melting in. For peace will join you there, simply because you have been willing to let go the limits you placed on love and joined it where it is and where it led you in answer to its gentle call to be at peace. He's saying we're going to melt into the very center of our heart. That's where the love is. It's been with me the whole time. Let's just sit in that. Relax. And quietly melt in. Let go. blue bag will go around. If you're joining on Facebook or YouTube, remember you can click the link and donate to the 5 p.m. service, and thank you for doing that. Thank you. Bless the offering, and we charge it with the intention that it bring this truth to the hearts of all beings. And so it is. Amen. Thank you. Perfect. All right, let's seal the deal, my friends. So as you close your eyes, just be reminded of all of those parables that Jesus told of the kingdom, the treasure hidden in the field, the priceless coin, the pearl of great price. It's all this love. It's pointing to the love within your own heart. The kingdom of God is within you. And here we know the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. Amen. Have a beautiful night, everyone. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, Hank.